our tournament leader is a left-hander, Hugh Miller. So we expect a lot of excitement today. In fact, all afternoon on ABC, as Wide World of Sports will follow with professional figure skating, World Challenge, all the great names there, plus World Cross Country Skiing Championships. That's later today. I mentioned old and new. Well, he's not that old, but he's been our colleague for 13 years, Nelson Burton Jr., and you know he's back competing. He finished 16th this week, so he'll be in the final 5 soon. But, Bo, you and the field proved that many a good tune has been played on an old violin.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. I had a pretty good week, but I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of young players in the championship round so far this year. In fact, one of the average field ages earlier this year was 23 years old. This week, it's 37 years old. Why? Well, we've had a little bit of a reduced scoring environment here. The lanes have been a little tougher. The players have to keep the ball in play, and spares are very important. It's a good week for you amateurs to watch and study the pros. Now, our tournament leader, Chris spoke about, Hugh Miller. He has the best championship round record on television of all the touring pros. He's only lost twice in his whole career. He should be very tough. And finally, we have one added dimension this week. A lot of people have asked about, how hard should I throw a bowling ball? How much does speed mean in a bowling ball? Well, this week we're going to answer that question for you. Do players throw 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, 50? We have a radar gun here to judge the speed. Hopefully we'll show you something that'll help your game, so stay tuned. Chris, they're ready for action.
They sure are. Here in the Florida BPA Open, in conjunction with the Bowlers Journal magazine, $23,000 will go to the winner. And here's a 52-year-old professional, 27 years a member of the PBA, a 4-time champion, and what a guy. Teata Semiz of Wanacue, New Jersey, just built a new home there. And that'll get the adrenaline flowing in this veteran. And up now at 5'6", 185 pounds, very sturdy. 7-time champion in 11 years. He is an unbelievable competitor. Tough. Kingsport, Tennessee. So, all even after one frame as we replay his shot from a profile angle.
Steve Martin, one of the powerful young veterans, as we say on the Professional Bowlers Tour, and look at how his eyes are riveted on that target. A little bit higher than shoulder with a backswing, snaps that wrist through, very low at the foul line, extended follow through. Just an excellent shot as he starts with a strike.
There you see his statistics: 11-year PBA member, 7 titles, 9 300 games. And now Steve Martin of Kingsport is going to have to shoot the 3-6 on the left lane of this championship pair.
The championship pair, 31 and 32, in his 40-lane establishment, Galaxy Bowling Center, just south of Sarasota. The track area, or the area between the second and third arrows, is where the players must play because it is worn a little bit more than the rest of the lane, so you have to keep it in that area.
Good job by Steve Martin. It is his 22nd television finals in his 11-year career. And for Teata Semiz, his 26th television appearance. Second in the 1978 Firestone Tournament of Champions behind Earl Anthony. Bo Burton was third, Roth was fourth, and Zalman was fifth that year. He'll take it. He's bowled enough in Brooklyn, New York over his long career that he deserves that one.
Teata Semiz, 5-step delivery, very similar to Steve Martin's, but at the age of 52, he doesn't quite get as low at the line as he used to. Watch how it slides through and then kind of raises up at this point, pulling the ball left of his target. You see him raise up. That caused the ball to go left. Teata has to stay down at the line.
First senior player to win a PBA National Tour event since the great Buzz Fazio in '65, should Teata win today.
That's over the age of 50.
So Teata now will have to shoot a 3-pin. Let's get a slow motion replay.
Teata starts the ball not quite wide enough and not enough speed, and his ball cuts right through the center, leaving a very simple spare. If he converts, he'll have a lead of 9 pins over Steve Martin. And we'll have some ball speeds for you in just 1 minute to show you how hard these players are throwing.
Spare for Semiz. 24-year difference in age between Semiz and his opponent, at whom we're looking now, Steve Martin, who will be shooting in the third frame with the spare working.
Steve Martin, while he's warming up, was throwing the ball 18 miles an hour. Let's see how he does as you look at his grip, that hand cocked under. Let's see how hard he throws it under pressure. Here's a shot. Chris, and he rolled that ball at 17 miles an hour. When a player can go a little bit slower but not too slow, that means he's very comfortable and relaxed out there. So it was an excellent shot. Steve Nagy Sportsmanship Award. That's awarded to the player, the touring player, a man who bowls more than 50% of the tournaments, is awarded by a vote of his fellow players of being the nicest guy on the Pro Tour. Once again, you see some paraphernalia on the arm and forearm of Steve Martin to overcome some tendonitis.
Okay, and on that paraphernalia, he has something written because his wife Kim couldn't be here.
A solid 10. Steve Martin rolls what is an apparent good shot. The 6-pin flies around the 10, and here's where we'll see an increase in the ball speed. We remembered 17 miles an hour in his first shot. I'll time this one. I bet you it's upwards of 20. Right at 20 miles an hour as he converts that spare, and he leads the match over Teata Semiz by just 9 pins.
We'll be back. Here's a man whose professional career has spanned at least 27 years, Teata Semiz. Leading by 9, coming into this frame, the 5th for him in our very first game. And now he's left the 4, 6, 7 bow. How do we do it?
What he has to do, Chris, is really not go for this split. Throw the ball over here in the 4-7 zone. Hope we can bounce one of these pins out and knock it into the 6th. Just a lot of speed. No use trying to slide it across. Smart move.
So it's an open frame for Teata Semiz, whom earlier we asked why he was still bowling.
I just try to keep myself in shape, Bo. I think I got maybe a couple of years left till I'm age 55. Plus, I want to keep myself in shape for the expanded senior tour.
And the PBA Seniors Tour hopefully will expand to 8 or 9 tournaments, and some of those hopefully will be televised during the summer months. Teata Semiz trails by 5, 5th frame.
Big follow through, but he has left the 1, 2, and 4 on the left lane.
Once again, the championship pair, 31 and 32, try to keep the ball between the 2nd and 3rd arrows, the track or worn area on the lane. All the players have done that successfully so far during the week. Teata Semiz, moving to the right, will play around the 2nd arrow to try to convert the 1, 2, 4.
And did that picture book perfect. There you see the 23,000, the winner, 12 for second, 8, 6, and 5,000 to the loser of this, our very first match. The number 4 bowler is up, Steve J. Martin of Kingsport, Tennessee. 7 championships. He started after the first round in 96th and then moved to 4th after the 6th round. He will take it. Just as he took to our question what he does when he is not bowling. Here's his answer.
Well, in the off-season, I have a job as a marketing rep for some local Burger King franchises in Kingsport and the Tri-City area in Tennessee. And basically just in charge of most of the promotional stuff back there. And it's really loosened me up a little bit, and now I know I have something to fall back on whenever I decide to retire.
Okay. And I can tell you he is a popcorn freak. He loves popcorn. Well, who doesn't, Bo?
You're an expert on that, Chris.
Of course.
You used to grow it on your farm. Here's Martin.
Oh, now he has put together a double, and he has jumped out now to a 15-pin lead after trailing.
Steve Martin looks like he's in control. Just rolls the ball very nicely down there on that particular shot. 17 miles an hour. That's about 2.4 tenths of a second. From the time it leaves his hand till it impacts the head pin, he has Teata Semiz down by 15 pins. Teata working on a spare 6th frame.
Bouncing right back. The man who won one of his 4 championships in Florida in 1977.
As perfection will have it, Teata Semiz drives all 10 pins right in the pit. You see the ball snapping through and driving all the way over to the left side of the head pin after it knocks out the 1, 3, 5, and 9. Now he trails by 15. His last shot was 19 miles an hour. That's the speed he had in practice. Let's see if he keeps it up here and tries to cut the lead down to 5 pins.
All right, with that double, 5 pins now separating a younger and an older professional here in Florida. We'll be back.
Here Steve Martin leads by 5, has 2 strikes working.
And wouldn't you know, he came up high, leaving the 610.
Well, the action is as we predicted. The players are trying to keep the ball between the second and third arrows. Speed's very important. Accuracy's very important. Martin cuts through the middle, avoids the 6-7-10 split, has a spare to shoot at. He's been using 17 miles an hour on his first ball. Now watch as he accelerates his speed on the second ball. It's very important for everyone, pro and amateurs, to throw harder, cut down the hook, and increase the accuracy on the spares.
All right. What was the speed, Bo?
Chris, 17 on the first ball. He went up to just above 20 miles an hour on the second ball, and that's about the maximum speed we've ever seen. Mark Roth is up about that speed, and that's a good speed for spares.
Remember, a bowling ball weighs 16 pounds. Not like a baseball, so you can't quite get the velocity.
Well,
that is fast.
It's rhythm and timing. The grip of Steve Martin, who's had tendonitis problems before and wrist problems. He curls that hand under there and just snaps that wrist through.
Always amazed at the ability of these professionals.
It should be good. And Rosalind Sumners, who was on our Pro Bowlers Tour Championship for an interview with you, Chris, at the U.S. Open. I saw her perform after that. Look, she looks sharp. Here's Teata Semiz.
That double working, and big 3-bagger. So he has a 7-pin lead again, back and forth. Watch this shot again.
Excellent move by Teata. He tucks that arm swing right in down next to his body between the second and third arrows. Look at his reaction. Bang, he takes the lead. He was trailing by 3, now has a 7-pin lead, comes up in the 9th frame. 3 strikes working, could extend that lead to 17 pins. Tough match.
In his career, he's won nearly $400,000. Oh, and then this. 4, 6, 7.
The same shot that Teata had in the 4th frame. He cuts right through the middle and doesn't get the break to avoid the split. Once again, now he must take a chance, throw the ball very hard in the 4-7 zone, hope he can knock out one of the pins out of the pit to knock out the 6th.
Teata Semiz. So his 7-pin lead dwindled to 4, and now he trails by 8. Good look at Steve Martin. You see 148 through the 7th strike up. Semiz with that open in the 9th, 180. Crossing over and leaving the 10.
The lanes this week, as we said, it took only an average of 200 to cash in the tournament as opposed to about 216 last week when we were over at Don Carty's Kendall Lanes. Teata still has a chance to win the match. The situation is this. Martin with a spare would be going at a 2:08 pace. Teata Semiz with 3 strikes could have 2:10. It's going to the final frame.
You know, we always talk about high games, and sometimes we forget about low games. These professionals are human also. Like Steve Martin's low game this week was 161, and Teata's was 149. So maybe that'll make some of our bowlers at home feel that these bowlers are human as well.
Very true, Chris. As Steve Martin reaches back, gets some tape in there. This is a great lesson right here. In a pressure situation, he leads this match by just 8 pins. He has enough cognizance about himself to take his time, make that thumb hole feel absolutely perfect. These are the important shots. If he does not strike twice, Teata Semiz can get up and double and win the match.
Here's the man that left the 7. His first title was in Sarasota. He's a United States Open champion.
Martin puts tremendous spin and wrist action on the ball. Drives the 5 over, almost hits the 7, but the head pin comes back and clips it away. What this for Steve Martin means is he can finish with is 207. Teata Semiz will have a chance to win the match when he comes up with 2 strikes.
Steve Martin, and here is Teata Semiz, whose first win came 17 years ago.
The experience of Teata Semiz, he knows that he needs 2 strikes to win this match, trying to picture the perfect release to get the ball in the pocket and hopefully go on to meet Chuck Pierce.
Yeah, sure.
All right. 207 for Steve Martin of Kingsport, Tennessee, with 6 strikes along the way.
The prospects for Teata Semiz, he must strike on this ball, the next ball, and 8 pins to win. 8 or better to win. 7 to tie. Anything less is a loss, but he must strike right here.
Now, he needs 1 more and 8 pins. The pressure is on this veteran. He's accepted it before, believe me.
What a super shot. 27 years of experience went into that shot, and you could not walk down the lane and place the ball in the pocket any better. When you see him go to 1 knee, you know they've thrown it perfectly. Now for Teata Semiz, he needs this strike and 8 or better to win. Must strike on this ball.
Biggest paycheck ever, if we look at Steve Martin, is when he finished second in 1978 to Earl Anthony in the Firestone. 17,000. He's shooting for 23 today.
Teata Semiz in the clutch. 3-pound, 7-ounce pins. He drives them straight back. But he must remember that the match is not over yet. Many a match this week has been lost on the last ball. He needs 8 or better to win. 7, we'd have a sudden death playoff. 2 frames. It's a winner. All right.
Teata Semiz winning the game by 1 pin. Semiz will go against non-winner Chuck Pierce, a 42-year-old and a 52-year-old. Competition waiting in the wings. With that strike, Bo clinched the victory against 20-time champion Marshall Holman. Bo's next opponent was 5-time champion Pete Couture, who bowled a solid 249, but Bo was not to be denied and bested Couture with an impressive 257. Now, the stage was set at Dick Weber Lanes for a PBA record that still stands today. And Bo's opponent, Dick's son, Pete Weber. With that ball, Nelson Burton Jr. won the St. Louis Open and recorded the highest 4-game total pinfall record, 1050, in PBA television history. Okay, that was 1984. Bo's overdue. So is Teata Semiz. Anthony Teata Semiz, 208 to Steve Martin's 207. Now, Semiz going against 42-year-old Chuck Pierce of Dallas, Texas. 10-year PBA member, the handshake, and game number 2. Remember, then will be Jim Murtishaw, and then our tournament leader, left-hander Hugh Miller of Mercer Island, Washington. Along with Joe Berardi, 86 Senior Touring Pro Doubles Championship. Semiz. He was hoping for another strike. He got 7 in that 208 victory by 1 pin over Martin. So we have the 245 to shoot at.
Something Teata hasn't done so far today. He has changed balls for this spare. Obviously, he used the same ball the first game for all his spares. Let's see what he does on this shot.
Ooh, just did. Next week, we move to Peoria, Illinois, True Value Open at the Landmark Recreation Center. Walter Ray Williams is a defending champ. He finished 13th here. Now, Chuck Pierce, 42, 5'10", 175. The 10-pin on the right lane.
Chuck Pierce, at 42 years of age, has grooved his swing. He has a 4-step delivery as opposed to 5 steps by the other players. Down low. Excellent shot to start the match out with. Remember, keep the ball in play. As Palmer Fahlgren, our statistician, said, that's bowling. That first match was one of the most exciting I've seen so far this year. These players have to use all their skills. Change angles, change speed, change the amount of hook on the ball. You must be thinking out there. It's a cerebral match.
All right, and a good job by Chuck Pierce, who is a big assist out on the tour, Bo. He helps with pro-ams. He does a lot of things for a lot of touring players and for himself, of course.
Chuck Pierce, as you alluded to, Chris, helps organize, as you see, his wife, who's here, June. By the way, I'll say hi to my mother. That's her first name, too, June. And my family being somewhat from Texas, my dad, these are Texans out here. Chuck Pierce helps organize some of the pro-ams before the tournament. The normal pro-ams on Tuesday. Chuck helps the sponsors organize pro-ams on Sundays and Mondays so the players can have a lot of action. Second shot.
So Chuck Pierce now has left the 1-2-4 on the left lane. This is only his second television appearance, so there's a lot of pressure.
He said the one thing he must guard against is too quick with his feet, which gives him too much ball speed. Obviously, in the second frame, he went a little quicker on that shot. His first frame that hit the pocket, he was 17 miles an hour. Teata Semiz has been around 19, so we have a little bit different styles, a little bit different ball speed between these two players.
Chopping the 1-2 off the 4, and that's disastrous open frame for Pierce. Giving him 26 through the second, and Semiz is up, spare working. This is our second match. If you just joined us, Anthony Teata Semiz defeated Steve Martin 208 to 207. Kind of strikes he was throwing the last 2 plus 8 pins to win, Bo.
Excellent, Chris. As you see, the averages are much higher this year. Usually the winning average in a professional bowlers tour for the year is around 214. Obviously a little bit higher. We've seen it in our championship rounds through the first 6 weeks. And Steve Martin, who was in that first match, is at 215. Pete McCordick, who rolled that from tremendous 300, is also at 215. Now here's Teata Semiz, has a 14-pin lead through 2 frames, can extend to 24.
Now increasing his lead to 24 pins.
No doubt about it. Teata Semiz loosened up after he threw that clutch double against Steve Martin in the first game to win by 1 pins. He has all the motions, Chris, of a man who could go all the way today. This pair is very touchy. Teata is sharp. He's relaxed. Let's see what Pierce can do here.
Okay, and Chuck, whose best finish ever was in a television final where he was second. Talking of national tour events now, that was in Lansing, Michigan. What flaws in his style? We ask him that question.
Well, my good point certainly is my concentration has been very, very good this week. My liabilities today could be my fast feet. I have an opportunity to rush the line. If I do that, I could get in trouble and the ball could go Brooklyn or high on me. So I have to really guard for that today.
Good communicator.
Right now, he needs to put some pressure on Teata Semiz, who looks very sharp. He could cut the lead down to 14 with the strike.
And a 10-pin on that left side.
Chuck Pierce, who also works in the summer with Frank Ellenberg, teaching juniors in bowling camps around the summer, around the country. He said last year he was in the Denver area, so spends his full time around the spectrum of bowling. He helps the pros out here, actually bowls on the tour, and in his off season gives instructions to juniors around the country.
Wonderful patience, this 42-year-old.
Great athlete.
The man that was high finisher of all the Texans at Forum Lanes, Quaker State Open. We're going to return, but first, this message. In beautiful Venice, Florida, just south of Sarasota, on an overcast day inside Pleasant. 42-year-old Chuck Pierce in our second match against the first game winner, Anthony Teata Semiz, 208 to 207 over Steve Martin. And now this man has a double up and a big shot in the 7th frame, trailing by 22.
Maybe.
only talks to himself, but the pins.
And he said maybe. Boy, that was an awfully good shot to just wish maybe on that. That was a solid 10 and a very important hit for him. Watch the second pin on the right-hand part of your screen. The 6-pin just zaps around the 10-pin. People wonder why we leave the solid 10, and the only thing I can say was one round object hits another round object, and obviously they don't all react exactly the same every time. Pierce will trail by 21, or 23 with this spare.
And next week to Landmark Recreation Center, Ray Beckard's establishment, a great one, Peoria. And if we can get a 300 game there, True Value will double the ante, 200,000. Okay, then on to the Miller Lite Championship in Milwaukee. And on to King Louis, Overland Park, followed by the Miller Lite Open in North Olmsted, a suburb of Cleveland. 4 stops coming up.
Chuck Pierce with that jamming his fingers in there, uses what we call a semi-fingertip grip. He goes in just past the first knuckle, comes up here at 8th frame, trails by 23, still in the match.
Very much so. Man is looking for his first professional win on the national tour. Chuck Pierce.
Just a beautiful shot as you see the ball rotating. Now watch the ball. Hits the 1, 3, 5, 9. Only 4 pins hit by the ball, but when you roll it in there perfectly, they do the proper thing and take them all out. Teata Semiz, 8th frame.
Ooh, a 10-pin on the right.
Once again, match play competition. We saw one of the most exciting matches of the year in the first match as Teata Semiz defeated Steve Martin. Once again, the match is very tight. Teata Semiz going at a 2:18 pace. Chuck Pierce still a potential 2:25. It'll be up to the last 2 frames once again.
Bob Chamberlain, a PBA national champion, winning it in Toledo, Ohio, where we'll be later, finished 6th and picked up a check for $4,000.
The farmer construction worker, Teata Semiz, I think a man obviously who stays in top shape all his life, as you can see by the trim, fit, muscular body still at the age of 52. Leads by 23 pins, 9th frame.
Leaving the 2.
Smart move by Teata. If you're going to make a mistake at the end of the game, make it to the right. Don't make it to the left. When lane conditions are a little bit on the tough side like this, keep the ball to the right. Don't pull the ball through the nose. Don't beat yourself. Easy spare for Teata to maintain a 22-pin lead.
And with his shiny bowling ball, he shoots the spares. Teata Semiz. Now with a strike up in the 8th, this man can cut Semiz's lead to 12 with a strike in the 9th. Setting himself very carefully. Good habits on the approach, Bo.
He said take one shot at a time. That's been his philosophy all week long. He needs this strike.
There it is, a 7.
Well, he blows on his fingers. He said he just didn't quite get enough action with his wrist and the fingers at the bottom of that ball as he takes some of the pressure off of Teata Semiz as he looks to the side to check the scoreboard. If Pierce had struck there, the lead would have been just 12 pins. The match would have been up for grabs. Now, Teata Semiz is in the driver's seat as June Pierce looks on.
Okay. 155 through 8. Spare in the 9th.
Chuck Pierce, look at the scoreboard. Solid 10 in the first frame. The only really errant shot the second frame. Strike, 10-pin, double, another 10-pin strike, 7-pin. He's had 8 out of 9 shots around the pocket. He still has a chance to win the match. What he must do is throw 2 strikes, 1 in the 10th and 1 in the 11th, get a good count. That would force Teata Semiz to mark to win the match. If Pierce does not strike, Semiz will go on to meet Jim Murtishaw.
So the fans here rooting for 42-year-old Chuck Pierce. See that he's left the 2, 4, and 10.
Sliding by in a crucial situation. What he must do here, although the match is not really in his control anymore, is get the ball over in this area, slide the 2-pin over into the 10-pin. The best he can do is 192, though, even if he converts the spare.
Nice, appreciative round of applause for the man that lost to Anthony Teata Semiz. Second win for Semiz, who'll go against Jim Murtishaw next.
Of our 3-week mini-series for women, we're going to discuss the backup ball. Now, over the years, we've seen the backup ball is caused by the women having their thumb at 3 o'clock as they go through their swing, then rotating the fingers clockwise underneath the ball, causing a backup spin. We've also taught you that the way to correct this is to hold the thumb at 9 o'clock throughout the swing and allow the fingers to rotate counterclockwise around the ball. Now for you women that have had a lot of success over the years with the backup ball, maybe there's no use to change. We're going to show you how to improve that backup ball. First place, instead of standing on the right-hand side of the lane, move over to the left-hand side of the lane. Hold the backup ball in your normal position at 3 o'clock. Aim between the first and second arrows down the left side, allowing the backup ball, or now as we call it, a reverse hook, hook right into the 1-2 pocket, getting more strikes and increasing your scoring power. Remember tip number 2 in our 3-week mini-series for women. For you beginners, avoid that 3 o'clock position and the backup ball. But for you players that are accomplished with the backup ball, remember, move to the left side of the approach, roll the reverse hook down the left side of the lane, and you'll increase your strike power.
Ready now to accept the challenge of Jim Murtishaw, 33-year-old from Vista, California.
And as Semiz average is up there at around 205. We see the size of our field this week was the standard 160. Look at the average, much lower this week. 196 as compared to about 209 the last couple weeks. Top 24, a mere 204. 200, as we said, to finish 53rd and pick up a $1,005. And here's some of the other finishers. National champion Chamberlain. Another lefty in there, Ron Bell, steady all week. Sam Macarone made a charge. Palmer Falgren, 3rd time in the top 10 this year. There's a couple of lefties in 11th and 12th. Deadeye, 13th. The Eagle flying high. Mark Roth, a slim down Roth, looking good. Little guy sneaks in there from Troy, Missouri in 16th. Ernie Schlegel, the president. Joe Berardi, solid again. Another Missourian, Leroy Bornhop. Harry Sullins, a champ up there. Pete Weber, Dave Ferraro, every week he's up there. Butch Soper bowling very well this week. And my old buddy, my doubles partner, shortcut Sam Zurich, round out the top 24.
Ah, yes, the Florida Bowling Proprietors Association opened in conjunction with the Bowlers Journal.
Chris, the 219 the players averaged all week, just 199 today. And why that is very simply this. Is some weeks when you can get it going, it's just like a football team. You say, well, why are they shut out in the first half of a game? And all of a sudden the momentum starts going and they score a lot of points. The same is true in professional bowling. These players can get hot, that average can jump right up.
Here we go now with our 3rd match of the afternoon, live from Galaxy Lanes in Venice, Florida. 33-year-old Jim Murtishaw to meet the winner of our first 2 games. TV pair average of 235.
That was going into today's championship round. So far, he's bowled 2 games, 208 and 203 for a 205 average. First shot.
Strong starter is Teata Semiz. Now, here's a look at a 5'6", 140-pounder. PBA member for 8 years, looking for his first title. In fact, making it into the finals, Bo, probably kept Jim on tour. He was about ready to pack it in.
A young stylist, and he's had his chance. And here he comes today. Let's see what he can do with it.
7 wouldn't drop.
What a nice-looking shot for his first shot in the championship round. As you see the 5-step delivery, or 4.5. He just shuttles that first step. Now notice how he is pronounced with that left arm out to the side, right arm in tight to his body. Just ideal position at the bottom of the swing. Here's a man, Chris, that once he could get loose out here, I think as you alluded to, he's a little bit under financial pressure. If he could get loose, he could win a lot of money. He's in good position.
Only his 2nd TV appearance in '84 in the Indianapolis Open. He finished 4th. His wife, Anita, and son travel with him.
And we talked about ball speed. Jim Murtishaw, 5 feet 6 inches tall. at 145 pounds, as you look at his wife, Anita, checking the action, was rolling the ball just 15 miles an hour. That's about the slowest I've seen anybody roll the ball into the championship round since Billy Hardwick in the 60s, who was so successful. Let's see how Murtishaw does today. Second frame.
Everyone just led by, leaving the 1, 2, 4, and sleeper 8.
This is the frame that was the undoing of Chuck Pierce in the previous match, in almost the same combination. As you see the ball slide by the head pin, the 1, 2, 4, 8. Murtishaw hopefully can make this. This was the downfall of Pierce. He let this spare get by and open the door for Semiz.
At the last moment, covering that sleeper 8. 2 spares for Murtishaw in his first match of the afternoon, the 3rd for this man. All right. 2 frames, 2 strikes for Teata Semiz.
Now here's a guy in top shape. Teata Semiz leads by 14, 3rd frame.
3-banger for Teata Semiz. Now it's Murtishaw, Jim Murtishaw, Vista, California. 2 spares now shooting in the 3rd frame. And his wife, Anita, in the green to the left of Teata Semiz. You see her right there? Finally, he says to himself. Earlier, we asked him what flaws he has in his style and how he guards against it.
Well, I think that a lot of extra practice time this week, and I worked on rolling the ball with a little more forward roll, and the ball's gone a lot straighter, and I just feel that that's given me the best reaction so far this week.
And he said he practiced about 3 hours a day before coming in here, and obviously his concentration is excellent, but he needs to put pressure on Teata Semiz, who's just free rolling, mowing over these opponents.
And just coming up extremely high, leaving the 3-6 on the left lane.
See the advantage of Teata Semiz's power and speed. Jim Murtishaw just 16 miles an hour on that shot. He makes the adjustment for the 1, 2, 4, 8 in the 2nd frame. He moves to the right on the approach, and the ball does not set up or hold at the pocket, as we call it. Cuts a little high and leaves the 3-6. Murtishaw is going to have to conquer the left lane to compete with Semiz.
Marks with a spare there on that left side. We're in our 3rd match. The winner to meet tournament leader Hugh Miller. We'll be back.
Trying to be the sorry, Chris. Trying to be the 2nd man this year to lead a tournament and win it. Kent Wagner did it at the Showboat. So far, tournament leaders are 1 victory, 5 losses. Now here's Teata Semiz up 3 strikes in a row. 4th frame, leads by 24.
And this 1, 2, 8, 10.
Obviously, direction and accuracy are 95% of any game, and Teata Semiz did not have the proper accuracy on that as he leaves the 1, 2, 8, 10. The washout, as we call it on the Pro Bowlers Tour. He must get the ball to the left side of the head pin, drive that 1 pin over into the 10 pin. Let's see how he goes for it.
All right, so now Semiz's lead has been cut to 8 pins. His 3rd match of the afternoon. And he moves over to the left lane now. 84 through the 4th. 5th frame. Murtishaw with spare up in the 4th. High hit. 3-10.
Something in Teata's style just came back to haunt him in the last 2 shots. The shot in the 4th frame he should have just forgotten about. He just lost that ball, sent it to the right. Now in the 5th frame, he's going to try to keep the ball and help it up to the head pin. He leaves the 3-10 baby split. Has to go across lane, have the ball deflect from the 3 into the 10. Trouble.
Disaster. 2. Make them back-to-back open frames, and now he trails by 3, a new leader in our semifinal match.
Jim Murtishaw, fingertip grip. All the players are using polyurethane bowling balls this week. This is the first man to have the lead against Semiz since Martin in the early going.
And a 2-4, make it a 1-2-10 for Murtishaw.
Murtishaw throws the ball a little bit too hard. He's been highlight, not even close. The ball slides by, leaves the split right there. He needs to slide that 2-pin over into the 10-pin. If he would convert it, it would have an even match as Teata Semiz looks at the scoreboard.
All right, gets the 2 pins. 82 through the 5th, trailing now by 11 over Teata Semiz.
I think one thing that Jim Murtishaw, who's very much a stylist and has an excellent style, needs to learn about his game is to get a little more ball speed on the ball. And how would you do it? 5 feet 6 inches tall, about the size of Marshall Holman. What you do is back up on the approach and let your legs generate the speed. Run up there a little bit faster, get a little more speed on the ball. He'd be a better player. There's a good shot. Watch this.
And at that last moment, breaking to the head pin and leaving a 3-10.
Well, 16 miles an hour at the 55-foot mark down there on the lane. Murtishaw loses control of the ball. If he would be about 18 miles an hour, such as Teata Semiz has been in the early going, he would be able to make that ball set in the pocket. Here's the same split that Semiz missed on the right. Let's see how Murtishaw handles it across lane.
Beautifully done. After an open, a conversion of the baby split. But the leader is Teata Semiz in the navy blue shirt, leading by 11, shooting in the 6th frame, following back-to-back open frames. Wow.
Teata Semiz picked up his ball speed there. Now watch this. His arm swing will go a little bit higher on this shot. He was at shoulder level when he started, about 18 miles an hour. Now he's at 19 on this particular shot between the 2nd and 3rd arrows, and he avoids the split. Gets himself an easy spare to shoot at.
We're in our 3rd match. The winner will meet left-hander Hugh Miller of Mercer Island, Washington. 4-time winner. Next week, Peoria, then Milwaukee.
Semiz using urethane ball fingertip grip. He has what we call finger inserts in the fingers. Those yellow little rings you see in the finger holes.
4-pin again.
What has happened? Very simply this. We've been on the air almost 1 hour. The players have been out there bowling under the heat of the Florida temperatures, and the lanes are beginning to hook a little bit more. This favors Semiz. He's throwing a little bit harder, keeping the ball in play. Murtishaw is going to have to make an adjustment to press Teata Semiz.
This man leads by 10 pins over Murtishaw. Match. And a 10-pin for Semiz, who held the lead, but while we were away, as we're running behind our 90-minute time allotment, Murtishaw gets up after converting a 3-10 and doubles it, frames 7 and 8. What a 3rd game. Spare in the 8th for Semiz.
Teata Semiz has stayed very close in every match. That's the key to being successful on the Professional Bowlers Tour. The ability to shoot big scores when you're freewheeling, but to keep the pressure on your opponents. Semiz very conscious of not defeating himself. Obviously, there's the possibility of a tie. Remember, Semiz won the first match by a mere pin over Steve Martin. He trails by 1 pin in this match, 9th frame.
What a foundation for the 52-year-old. The 33-year-old Murtishaw is up with a double working, shooting in the 9th.
A seesaw match. At one time, Murtishaw was trailing by 24 pins. He cut the lead down, the deficit down to 8. Then at one time, he had a 10-pin lead. Now he leads by 1, can extend to 11. 9th frame.
And a 10.
Well, that was the one to take a commanding lead. If he converts this spare, it is an even match going into the 10th frame. Murtishaw needs this strike to take an 11-pin lead. The ball hits the 1-3, doesn't drive hard enough to 6 into the 10. A spare here, both players would be even through 9 frames. Advantage to Teata Semiz because he has a strike working.
This is the man that finished second in a field of 160. Jim Murtishaw, Vista, California, looking for his first win. But it'll be his biggest payday by far, regardless of what happens.
The scoreboard tells the story. As Bill Murtishaw looks on, he's aware of his son's predicament. We have not had a tie match all year long. It could happen right here.
Gritting his teeth, and Anita, his wife, and his pop, looking at that overhead score screen.
Both players going at a 191 pace. There it is on the scoreboard. Murtishaw could take a 10-pin lead with another strike, but he cannot shut out Teata Semiz. Teata still has a possible 211. The best Murtishaw can do is 201. Big shot right here.
Mm, 2-5.
And oh, how important this spare is. He doesn't quite get the ball up to the pocket. Needs this strike. Knocks out the 4-pin, leaves the 2-5. With a conversion right here, he would finish with a 191 game. So important. That would force Teata Semiz to either strike on the first ball or strike on the second ball for a victory or a tie.
$191 for Murtishaw of Vista, California. Strike up in the 9th, and here is Teata Semiz. Won his first match by a pin, a 208 to 207 over Steve Martin, then over Chuck Pierce, 203 to 181. And you saw the graphic, most of you, said needs a strike right now. 2-5.
The possibilities for Teata Semiz, the best he can do in this match is tie and go into sudden death in regulation.
Well, the speed on that was 19.
Amped up, the adrenaline flowing. Teata wanted to make sure, threw it a little bit harder, left the 2-5. He needs this spare and a strike to tie the match.
Case of a tie, a 2-frame roll-off. Pressure, pressure.
Well, Teata answered the call in the first match when he threw 2 clutch strikes to beat Steve Martin. Now he must strike to put this match into extra frames. If he throws a strike, Murtishaw will get up on the left lane and bowl what we call the 9th and 10th frames.
Here it is. Big loft out, and again, the 3-10. A 2-pin victory by Jim Murtishaw over Teata Semiz. It'll be Murtishaw against Hugh Miller.
As we're ready for the championship match.
And our tournament leader, left-hander Hugh Miller, attended Bellevue College in Seattle area, as the two now shake hands, battling for the $23,000 first prize, $12,000 for second. Here's a man that upset Anthony Teata Semiz in Semiz's third match by a score of 191 to 189.
Who has the advantage, Chris? The man coming on who's never been there, Jim Murtishaw, or the proven champion Miller? Let's see.
A break leaving the 10 on the left lane.
Jim Murtishaw, who needs a victory to qualify for the third jewel in bowling's Triple Crown, the Firestone. The final tournament of this season would knock out Bobby Jacks from the field of 52 players, but he needs a victory. Hugh Miller already assured of a spot in the Firestone.
Now we get a look at the only left-hander in our field of 5 finalists. There were 18 lefties that started. 4 made the top 24, and here is our tournament leader. 30 years old, Mercer Island, Washington, 5'11", 180 pounds. Smooth delivery, but a 3-5.
One of the reasons Hugh Miller has been so dominant, as you look at his profile, a 5-step delivery, is his methodical style and his ability to mark and convert frames. As you see him low at the foul line, nice smooth delivery, not a straight ball, not the big hook, good concentration. And Chris, until the 1986 True Value Open last year, Hugh Miller had never had an open frame in the championship round.
Winner of 4, including 2-time Quaker State Open champion in 1980 and 84.
His first 6 times in the championship round, Hugh Miller emerged a victor. He had never had an open frame until he left the 1-3-7-9, losing to Walter Ray Williams. Now let's see the style here of Hugh Miller as he uses a fingertip grip, tucks that baby finger under there to tighten it up, extends the index finger. Here he goes.
There's the man that had the high game in the tournament at 299, his first strike in this final.
No 300 games this week. Obviously, the 299 Miller had as he was running away with this tournament. Well, look at the grip of Murtishaw as he tucks his baby finger, extends that index finger for balance. Good concentration.
All right, all even after 2 frames in a match for $23,000 to the winner.
Okay, following up on our ball speed, the average winning speed that I've seen over the years is 18 miles an hour. That's exactly what Hugh Miller, our tournament leader, rolled his first 2 frames at that speed. Jim Murtishaw, who was struggling against Semiz in the early going, was at 15 and 16. He picked up the 17 at the end of the match. He threw that last shot at 17 miles an hour. If he can maintain that speed, he'll give Hugh Miller all he can handle.
All right, big double. Jim Murtishaw with wife Anita and his dad Jim on the left, talking now with his daughter-in-law.
Murtishaw, who has never seen the winner's circle. 4 times Hugh Miller has been there. He's good running away with the tournament. He can throw strikes, and he's very tough in the clutch.
Eight and 2 in television games. Wow, leaving the 7.
Hugh Miller leaves the first frame. He leaves the 3-5. He makes the adjustment here, but he over-adjusts. He moves too far to the left to try to get more angle of attack on the 1-2 pocket, crosses over, leaves a very simple spare to convert the 7-pin. He would trail by 10 pins.
All right. We asked Miller how he prepared for this tournament.
Well, this week down here in Florida with the nice weather, I think I was able to get outside and do a little jogging. And I'm a pretty avid runner, but some weeks out here, it's hard to get outside and do that. And I think by going out and running this week, it gave me a little edge. In fact, I was out there this morning running, tuning up for the show.
All right, dedication.
Very true. He said he ran 4 miles this morning. Right now, he has 7 frames left in order to be in the victory circle. Let's see what happens.
Low cross lane help for Hugh Miller.
Watch the action of the head pin. The ball impacts the head pin. Now, don't lose it. There it goes in the right-hand channel. Here it comes. It's rolling. It's rolling. How's your luck? Boom. All right.
A head pin can be important for Hugh Miller in particular today. We're in our final match. More of it following this. Murtishaw with a double up has a 10-pin lead, can increase it to 20 as he shoots in the 4th frame of our final match. 23,000 the winner, 12,000 for second. A 10.
Murtishaw keeping the ball in play. The first match, he was all over the place for 7 frames, got his act together at the end of the match, and just nipped Teata Semiz at the wire. So far, he has kept every ball around the pocket. A 10-pin in the first frame. As you look at Bill Morris, the president of the Tampa Bowling Proprietors Association, and one of the close friends of the man who hosted this tournament, Rafi Carrion, the president of Galaxy Bowling Centers, 4 of them in the Florida area.
Fair in the 4th for Jim Murtishaw, who defeated Teata Semiz in the previous match, 191 to 189. As we look at Rafi Carrion, proprietor here, good guy.
Owns 4 bowling centers, and I had the good fortune of winning one of his tournaments in 1979 up in the Sarasota area. He's just as nice a guy as he seemed right there on camera. Now back to some guys who got to play it tough. A lot of money at stake for Murtishaw. A trip to the Firestone. He's never been in the winner's circle. Leads by 9 pins.
Good job. Cheering, jumping at the line for that one to hit the pocket and get them all, which he did.
What a dandy shot as he just rips the 5 out. When you see a player roll a shot like that, you know he's playing the right angle and he's loose. That's the important thing. Don't be apprehensive. Now let's see what Miller can do. This is the lane that's given him trouble. He was light in the first frame, high in the 3rd. He must make the adjustment to stay in the match.
A 7-pin, and we replay it.
Once again, the ball doesn't quite finish all the way into the pocket. You saw the ball slide behind the 7-pin. He's hoping, give me a little break to get this match even. Kind of a wry look on his face, Chris.
Mm-hmm. All right. For Hugh Miller, our tournament leader, is spare in the 5th. Talk about domination today. The president of the Professional Bowlers Association led the first round, then it was all Miller.
18 games qualifying, top 24 went at it, bowled an additional 24 games of match play. We've already had 3 matches so far in the championship round. We're down to just 2 players. Hugh Miller, the tournament leader, and Jim Murtishaw trying to win his first title. 6th frame.
Wanted that one because Murtishaw will have a strike up in the 5th frame, shooting in the 6th.
The wall shot, hits it light, lets that head pin do the work, takes out the 5, 6, and a 10. As Hugh Miller hangs tough, he's been close on every shot. A golden opportunity for the functional game of Jim Murtishaw. He can extend his lead by 10 more pins to 19 with a strike here in the 6th.
Tough competitor, which he did show against Semiz.
He may be diminutive in stature, but when he has that bowling ball in his hand and an opportunity, Chris, he seems very, very tough. He's really handling himself very well as his father, Bill, looks on, his wife on the right there. They know the situation. He can take a commanding lead with a strike here in the 7th.
Smooth delivery. Anita, his wife, loves it. And he leads by 29 over the tournament leader. More after this. Next here on ABC, and next in Professional Bowling live from Galaxy Lanes in Venice, Florida. A hamlet here that will celebrate its centennial next year. Hugh Miller, Mercer Island, Washington.
Hugh Miller trailing by 29 pins in a critical situation here. 7th frame, has a strike working.
man that dominated, and he has left the 3, 5, 6.
Obviously a different lane condition on the right side and the left side. We've seen the 4 right-handers. The ability to conquer the left-hand lane has been what has made Murtishaw so successful today. Obviously, Hugh Miller has struck on the left-hand lane, lane 31 every time, has struggled on the right-hand lane, but the match is not over. This man is hanging tough. The lanes do not yield big scores, so hang in there.
And a good spare for Hugh Miller. Wide World follows us here on ABC from Paris, the Professional Figure Skating World Challenge, and a companion feature from Oberstdorf, Germany. It'll be World Cross Country Skiing. The winter sports, another prelude to our coverage of the Calgary Olympic Games in 1988, a year from now.
Hugh Miller, 8th frame, trails by 29.
Powerful and big.
All right, remember Hugh Miller, because he finished higher than Murtishaw in the tournament, has the choice of which lane to finish on. If you look at the scoreboard, Miller will finish on the lane he struck every time. So throw a strike there in the 9th frame for him. He has a possible 230 if he can strike out in the 10th on his good lane. Murtishaw going at a 229 pace. It's up for grabs.
3-bagger going. The 2-pin.
Send it wide. That's the best place to be if you're going to miss. You don't want to go through the heart, get a split. It not only pumps up your opponent, but is very debilitating to your score. So Murtishaw ends up with an easy spare, the 2-pin. He'll go straight at it right over the 3rd arrow and maintain a 28-pin lead as we go into the final 2 frames of the Florida Open.
Okay, we're in our final match. And when it's all over here in Venice, Florida, we will go to ABC's Wide World of Sports. I mentioned professional figure skating and world cross-country skiing. Added feature, special report on manager Dick Hauser, Kansas City, is coming back. What a courageous fighter he's always been.
The last shot by Murtishaw at that spare, just 14 miles an hour. He's becoming tentative as it's getting close to the final 2 frames.
Seven-pin on the left lane.
Only manages 15 miles an hour on it. He's starting to aim the shot. He's in the driver's seat, leads by 27 pins. That beautiful arm swing that he has is really redeeming that lack of ball speed. He's not letting it run high on him. Must convert the spares, so don't give anything away. Look at that beautifully straight swing.
Okay. It's been a great event all week here. Capacity crowds. We salute the Florida bowling proprietors and the oldest sports magazine, monthly magazine in existence, the Bowler's Journal. And Mort Luby, the publisher, the 3rd of the Lubies that have published it starting in 1913. That's vintage.
Been a few years. Miller needs a shot. Biggest shot of the tournament.
A 2-4.
Well, he needs a miracle now. He needed that strike to put pressure on Murtishaw. For Hugh Miller, our tournament leader, he must convert this spare and get 3 strikes to have any chance. He would still need a miracle to overtake this man in the 10th frame.
It's got to be frustrating, though, as a tournament leader, as you pointed out earlier. 1 victory by a tournament leader in 6 coming into Galaxy lanes here. He dominated so, and then struggling here to cop the first prize, trying to.
Well, I think some of that, Chris, is attesting to the great ability of all the other players. Once they get in a groove, they're really tough to beat.
And those trying for their first victory ever on the national tour. It's unbelievable, the true grit that they have.
Well, Murtishaw, with his functional style, bowled a very cerebral game. He did not beat himself. He's kept the ball in play. It's just a formality to finish it. He just needs to go up and throw one ball, and the tournament will be over. Keep it on the lane, Jimmy, and I'll see you at the Firestone in April. Hugh Miller, undoubtedly disappointed. He'll be back. He's a great winner. He did not beat himself. Murtishaw took this title. And here's your new champion, Chris.
Okay, his first victory ever for Jim Murtishaw. And I can't tell you what the $23,000 will mean to Jim, his wife Anita, and his son. The Professional Bowlers Tour is brought to you by Wendy's, home of hot and juicy hamburgers. By Champion Spark Plug Company. And by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft smoothness. It's beer at its best. All right, there you see the man, Jim Murtishaw, who has to finish his game. He'll be in the 220s, whereas his opponent, the tournament leader, Hugh Miller, shot 199. The trophy and the check will be presented by Mark Galooby of Bowler's Journal and Bill Morris of the Bowling Proprietors. Coming up next, ABC's Wide World of Sports. The Professional Figure Skating World Challenge of Champions, World Olympic Champions Gracie Isis, Scott Hamilton and Robin Cousins lead the men. Hamill and Sumners lead the women's field. Top prize of $40,000 plus world cross-country skiing and a special report with manager Dick Hauser of Kansas City.